Fabulous. Welcome back. Today, we are talking about the anti-agency approach. It's all about strategy first rather than the tactics first. So if you're struggling, you've tried everything, you've tried this and that and the other thing, and it's supposed to work, and all the gurus say it works, and it's made me $1,000,001 in a day. Um, but you're not feeling that same success. This is probably why. All right. So, before we jump into it, I am Simone and this is Nate. And we are Nate and Simone, and we talk all things marketing. Before we get started, um, subscribe and share this link out to your family and your friends and other business partners and colleagues who are probably going through the same things. All right, let's jump into it. Hey, Nate,
Hey,
where do we
hey, hey, how we
start?
doing? Well, so I don't know, if this is precisely correct, but Google searching and other sources have told me that the average small business owner gets pitched 17 marketing services a month. Okay. So it's kind of no wonder that most marketing small businesses owners out there feel like they're drowning in a sea of tactics, I'm sure, right? Who hasn't been approached by the SEO guru? Who hasn't been approached by the guy wanting to sell a new website, et cetera, et cetera? Who wants, running ads, doing YouTube, all this stuff. It's a virtually
I get
endless
pitched that
parade.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I keep hearing about how my website is trash and I need to upgrade it.
Yeah, everything you do is trash, and only they can do it better. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Unfortunately, this is kind of the way things are going when it comes to agencies these days. Don't get me wrong, there are some legit, really good agencies out there, okay?
Me for
Um,
one.
but some of them, a lot of them, I'd say the majority, unfortunately, as it is, are not, they're more focused on tactics and they're trying to sell you the thing that they do because that's what they do, right? So that's what we're
I
going to talk
need to get
about.
a new website because you're selling a new website, right?
Exactly.
Not because I need a website, it's because you're selling
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. So we're going to talk about maybe a different way to think about that and a different way to approach that. And we're going to look at why so many small businesses stay stuck even after they hire these guys, these consultants, freelancers, whatever you want to call them, whatever they call themselves. And it has nothing to do with their effort and everything to do with starting in the wrong place. So we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between tactics and strategy, how agencies are incentivized to skip the diagnosis, and how to fix real problems. That's the outlay there. Um, do you know of a little a person named Sun Tzu?
I've heard the name. That's the person who wrote The Art of War, right?
You got it. You got it. He says,
Yeah.
strategy without tactics is the slowest route to victory. Um, Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat.
Mm.
So that's an interesting little tidbit to think about there. So what in the world is he talking about? That's the question, I guess. Um, all right. So as we talked about, agencies are built basically to sell the implementation of the thing that they do, not the strategy. Okay. And their revenues all depend on doing stuff for you. Okay. The SEO guys out there are banking on driving impressions, clicks, but that's pretty much where their responsibility and their um, I guess what do you well most of them aren't so big onto whether or not that actually turns into revenue. That's that's the thing, right? Um, that might take an extra level of consideration there that most do not provide, especially if they're low cost um, SEO providers. Most of these guys skip discovery or offer just superficial audits of what's going on, right? They send you a PDF that shows, maybe some screenshots of your website with some things circled that need to be improved, and that's pretty much the extent of it. There are other, methods to do that that are much more involved and much more in depth. And the guys who are really worth their salt, they put you through your paces there in that case. So what happens when you hire one of these agencies before you get strategic? Basically, the first thing is you burn money on the wrong channels. That's that might be the uh, the short and sweet version here. You start creating content that doesn't convert, right? Remember, if it's a social media posting company, for example, all they're doing is generating social media posts. It's not really tied to necessarily your brand, your positioning, the kind of messages that you actually want to send to your audience. And there's no real method for converting on the traffic and the eyeballs that it brings to you anyway.
Yeah, I think what's interesting for a lot of these companies, and I've been pitched some of these services myself, is that they may have success with a type of business. They've used their posting strategy or their website design strategy for a particular business, and it worked. It went well. You know, the social media posting garnered a lots of attention, and the profile grew. But then they take that same method that they've been working for your business, and your business is completely different, and they try that exact same method, and it doesn't work. Why is
Yeah,
that? They haven't
and
looked at
then
like who you are, what's your branding, what it is you're selling,
yeah.
what your voice should even sound like. Does it match what you've been posting before? Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and uh, I had a company that I was testing out just out of curiosity, social media posting company. I won't name them, but they said our strategy is 30% posting about the company and the services they provide to their customers, 30% holidays related to the industry, or actually no, not even not even related to the industry necessarily, but just holidays, right? And then 30% of content related to the industry at large. Excuse me. And so that's, I guess that's more than most, but it's still not really getting you there, honestly. Um, but the price is right in that case, right? Because there's not a whole lot of effort and thought that goes into it, so it doesn't cost that much. Um, is it really worth it though? Like, is it really doing something for you? Is it going to convert? Probably not,
Right.
There is something to be said, I suppose, for maintaining a presence on social media, but you run the risk of damaging your personal brand if the content is sort of cheesy, generic, and
Yeah.
lacking, let's say,
Yeah.
So what's there? I think that there is downside to simply just posting. That's anyway. I'll get off my box there. But so what else happens when you hire an agency before being strategic? One thing kind of what I was just talking about. You chase marketing trends instead of aligning your business model. And maybe the marketing trend is to, the latest dance craze on TikTok, right? Um, does that really fit into what
Yeah.
it is that you do as a business? It might be something that people are interested in, but what is that going to get you? Um,
It's
I
great
know,
entertainment, maybe.
yeah, yeah,
And lots of views for entertainment. Because
yeah, yeah,
people, I have seen this is that like a lot of people will gravitate towards a profile because it's entertaining. The stuff that they
hmm
post there is entertaining. But um, most of those followers have no interest in what the business actually does. They're just there for the entertainment. It's fun, it's interesting, it's catchy, it's funny, it makes you laugh or whatever, but doesn't really have anything to do with what you want. So you're just attracting people who are there for the fun and games. But when you put out a call to action, there's crickets. You're
yeah,
attracting all the wrong people.
exactly, exactly. Mostly because how many of them are actually your real legit target market?
Exactly.
If they're just there to enjoy stuff, chances are you've reached the masses and it's extremely diluted.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so those are some things that happen when you hire an agency before you get strategic. So we kind of talked a little bit about some examples of how this could fail you, right? Some other ideas here. I mentioned SEO without having actual positioning clarity. This actually happened with a client of mine who, when you went to his website, the offer was click here or contact us directly through the website and get a 5% discount.
Hmm.
And that was the extent of the offer. There was no, the first page was, about us and why we're so great and all the projects that we do. Okay. But it's not really positioning, right? It's not really, it's putting like
Or even
putting it in
customer
people's minds
centric.
what makes you great and why should they choose you, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not really customer centric. It's they're talking about me, right? So everybody that comes to your website, it's with them, right? They want what's in it for me. That's all they care about. And so you got
Mhm.
to get right to the point there. So if that comes to it,
Like, how are you going to make
um,
my life better? I
yeah,
don't, yeah. I think it's really interesting. Like when sometimes when you ask people like what positions them over their competition, and they'll say, "Well, I have 20%, I have 20 years of experience in this industry." A lot of times people don't necessarily care that you have 20 years of experience or you have, five different degrees in the thing. They just want to know, can you do it and can you do it at a price that I am willing to pay? Have you done it for other people who are like me? You know,
mhm, yeah,
they don't care about you and your background and all of that. They may care about it after they decide, oh, you're the one for me. Now I want to know about you.
hmm exactly, exactly. All right. Another example of some failures, common agency failures. You get paid ads without a sales conversion path. You're running some ads. You hired an ad agency to run ads. That's what they're doing. They're doing the ads
Yeah.
for you.
They're
They're
doing
doing
what
their
they
job.
were hired to do, right? Yeah. And a lot of that is really just bring me more leads, bring me more leads.
Right.
Okay. Now that you have more leads, what are you going to do with them?
hmm
Can you
Uh,
handle an influx of leads?
oh, yeah, exactly. What is the steps that they are going to take once they interact with that ad? How
Yeah.
are you capturing their information, et cetera? Is that a consideration? Probably not.
Hmm.
Um,
What are you doing? Like, who's going to be, are these people, do you want people to fill up your calendar? Does your calendar have enough space in it to handle a new influx of people wanting to get in touch with you?
yeah.
Gotta
Um,
have all that in place. So that,
exactly, exactly. And
hmm,
again, they're doing their job. That's what you hired them to do. You didn't hire them to figure out how this fits into your funnel and your system,
hmm,
and et cetera, right? You hired them to run
right.
ads, and this again, another case in point. Client was having somebody run ads for him. The offer was click here and get a 10% discount. That was
Hmm.
it. That was the offer.
And that's gonna draw a lot of people who want a 10%
Discount.
discount.
Yeah. Not necessarily, and most likely not your crowd, the people that you actually want to reach.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, unless you have a business like Walmart, in which case,
True. Yeah.
10% off is that's your market. Those are your target
Retail is
audience, right?
retail is another beast, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah.
But all right. Looks like we got Clayton here joining us.
Hello, Clayton.
Clayton, how you doing, sir?
I'm
Hey,
doing well, Ethan. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, just to let you know, we're on YouTube Live, just so you know. But okay.
Say hi to all my YouTube friends.
Do you want to tell people out there in YouTube land who you are?
Okay, great then. Welcome everyone. I'm Clayton Ivy. I'm currently Chief Financial Officer of a company called Express Business Solutions. We are a management accounting firm that specializes in, helping clients through the funding process, whether it's through banks or through investors. I'm an investor myself, so I love to share what we know and what we do with other business owners that are looking to raise capital. We facilitate about 2 billion in funding to small business owners, and again, it's always happy to meet new people and share what we know.
Awesome. Very
Fantastic.
good. Welcome. Great to have you. So our conversation today, Clayton, just to clue you in here a little bit, we're talking about um, an anti-agency approach to thinking about your business and how you go about reaching the right customers, etc. And primarily thinking about it from a strategy first standpoint before we get into tactics.
Yes.
Um, and so I would imagine that someone like you who is looking to raise funds for people is interested thinking strategically, about what that funding is going to be used for. Maybe I don't know. Maybe what is your take on that?
Right. But, I love to fund good people, right? And so I always tell everyone my unsuccess story. I was the VP of finance for a company called Western Union. When I joined the company, I was, young and imagine my first, peek into how this works is that, the time I joined the company, Western Union was almost bankrupt. And so I was actually hired by a company called First Data to look into the company, look under the hood, if you will, and see if there's any possibilities of turning the company around. To go to the end of the story, Western Union was purchased for 580 something $1 million, right? And we cleaned them up, got them back. Now they're even now traded on the public stock market. So it's always looking for opportunity that goes beyond the deal. The person makes the difference.
Okay, awesome. Um, and all right. So right now we were just talking about some ways that agencies can fail small businesses when they get into a lot of businesses, small businesses want to reach their right customers, and a lot of them reach out to agencies to help them with that. I read a statistic here just recently that said about 47% of small businesses do their own marketing. And so that means there's a significant number of small businesses that do not. And so they reach out to companies that help them with that kind of thing, right? And so, unfortunately for them, a lot of these agencies that are out there are not, let's say, they're not thinking strategically. They don't have the small business's best interest in mind, right? They aren't really attaching what they are doing to the business's goals, and that leads to failures. And so we
Yes.
were just kind of going through some failures. One of the last ones I had on my list here was like creating an email sequence with no real strategy behind it, for example, right? You're just sending out emails because you heard that it was a good idea, or the email marketing agency told you that it was a good idea and you needed to do it, right? But you don't really have it's not you don't have like the positioning, you don't have the messaging down, and so whatever it is that you're saying isn't really doing a great job of bringing you in, new revenue and leads, because it's falling on deaf ears. You're just not saying the right things in that case, because mostly because you haven't really thought it out, right? In that case. And the email marketing agency is doing their job, right? They're creating email sequences for you. That's what you hired them for. But they're unfortunately not connecting it to the bigger picture. So all right, so those are the problems that we have with traditional agencies as they are known today. One of the main problems here is actually one of the great things about an agency is that it's a low barrier to entry. you know, to create an agency, it doesn't take much to get up and running, and so that's both the best part and the worst part about it. So think about that. All right, so we're going to get into what strategy actually means. All right. So strategy in the context of business growth. And in my opinion, and I'll let everybody else chime in, it's not just goals or vision necessarily. It's when you're deliberately connecting between your business model, the messaging, and the market. What do you guys think?
So it's kind of like, um, you know where you are now and you know your goals are where you want to be. So the strategy is that bridge that gets you from here to there. Would you say that that's an accurate description of a strategy?
I wholeheartedly agree.
Okay.
As a financial guy, I was taught this by my CFO, right? It was marketing is still a financial function.
Hmm.
And let me explain. What we look at is that, we start off let's say I can't say to start the year planning, but begin, imagine like in October, we're planning revenue for the new year, right? And with those numbers, we know, okay, we want to hit $110 million in revenue. Therefore, we back it up based upon how many new customers. We look at churn. We know how much customer acquisition costs. All those are numbers that we use as CFO to kind of plan the year. Well, when you're publicly traded, you're going to give these numbers to analysts. You hit the numbers, or they penalize you on the stock market, right? So we have always, when I started my company, I always wanted the small business owners and even agencies to understand that the financial side of what you're asking the clients to do is kind of proven by the numbers, if you will, right? How many customers do you want to reach budget? My number, for the year is over 25 million. So I plan backwards. I know that in order to hit that number, I'm going to reach so many customers. And again, the various products we have a gross revenue number and a net revenue number, if you will, too. So I want to, again, I know that with agencies is that we try to help agencies tie that number into making sure the client has enough funds or capital in order to achieve that number. It is a cost, if you will, right? So therefore, we help agencies by, if they need the client to hit, $2 million in revenue, they know what that ad spend, that marketing cost looks like. We make sure that they have the funds to do so that it can be accomplished, if you will. But again, that does take knowing what your customer acquisition costs are, what is churn, all the KPIs that relate to marketing. That's important because it's not just the tactic. like I think Nathan was saying, it's not just a tactic; it's really a strategy that goes beyond. Like I know that I have, I need to reach 5,000 customers, and at a certain price point is where we have entry level products, entry level services, but you do want to make sure that hits your budget, your what we call it financial plan. My financial plan, if I'm going to hit 25 million in revenue, I want to make sure that I know that those numbers kind of backwards engineered, if you will.
Yeah. It's kind of like what Stephen Covey said, right? Begin with the end in mind, right? That's
In mind, you got it.
yeah. Um, Excellent. And that's unfortunately one of the downfalls of most agencies is that they're not connecting their actions with the broader business goals. And so that leads to frustrations and failures, as they say, right? Um,
I try to think
there's,
about it.
Big money drain.
I think
yeah.
about like our services should pay for themselves, especially
Hmm.
that imagine if you help the client reach that number should include your cost as an agency.
That's right.
So if they hit that number, they're able to afford you, and it's sustainable year after year after year. We don't have to go. I don't advertise for clients. We work directly with the banks and investors, and that network is our net worth, if you will, right? But we do have to deliver to the clients, the borrowers, or to any, again, ultimately our partners, that in order to help them sustain their business, yeah, make sure that client is reaching the number, right? That number has to include your fees, right? Uh,
Mhm.
and again, I'm thinking about next year. What's the upsell, right? That we're going to increase revenue by 5% or 20%. That you can pay for yourself.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. So I think it helps to maybe think of strategy as sort of a hierarchy, especially when it comes to marketing specifically. And I think it starts with the broad vision for the company. That's kind of like the thing that defines the long-term direction and purpose of the business, right? It's the foundation of the business. Vision, mission, I think those are kind of often used interchangeably. They are slightly different, but I think it is still does form the foundation. Um, it certainly forms the foundation of your the messaging that you're going to use in your marketing later on. So you might as well get that right. And going along with that comes positioning. That's kind of like the next one, right? Once you have your vision figured out, your mission, you know where you're going, and you have the big picture. The positioning is how you want to be perceived in the market, who you're serving, who's your target market, what problems do you solve, and why you're different. Otherwise, what is it? What are you trying to sell? What is it that you have? And I was talking earlier about, I have a client that he before we started working together, his main offer through ads was, click on this ad and get a 10% discount. That's not really, it's not positioning. It's not really an offer, really. It's you're going to attract the wrong crowd that way. Um, and so, speaking of offer, that's kind of the next on the list, right? Is what you are, is what you actually sell, and how it delivers on your positioning.
Mm.
So, you know, um, in my case, if I am taking my positioning as like an anti-agency approach, right? Like a strategy first approach as opposed to a tactics first approach. And so in that case, that's kind of what I'm selling, thinking about from a strategic point of view, how everything fits together, having a single source of truth within the company, breaking down silos, making sure that everybody's talking to each other, and you have a single functioning system that's producing predictable revenue in the business. Um, so if I am anti-agency, I'm saying that unlike the vast majority of agencies out there, I'm actually going to help you move the needle in the business, right? Um, Channels are next. Okay, so We know what our vision is. We have the picture. We have the positioning. We have an offer, and now we have to figure out where we're gonna go tell everybody about this. So that's where the channels come in: social media, email, SEO. But again, it only makes sense to go there once you have everything else figured out, right? Unfortunately, the tactics and the channels is where a lot of small business owners start, and that's the problem, right? Um, Tactics is the last thing that you should probably consider in this case. And again, this is a hierarchy. Tactics are the specific actions you take, like sending an email, launching an ad, actually doing the SEO, etc. And only once you have everything else figured out does that actually make sense. Um, and a lot of times I talk to business owners and they just want somebody to do their marketing for them. You know, give me more leads. I just want you to do the marketing. Well, okay. But the thing is, there's some things here that you're missing and you haven't quite figured out. And I don't have a whole lot to work on or to work with to get the message out there to find the right people, right? Who am I actually going after? Are you sure that they're actually on Instagram? Is that really where we need to be? Have you thought this through? How have you what made you come to this conclusion that this is what you wanted to do or you should be doing? Um, and it matters, I think, the order, because if you skip the steps along the way, or you do them out of order, you get misaligned, which leads to wasted ad spend, inconsistent growth, etc. And like I said before, most agencies are going straight for those channels and tactics, and that's why it kind of feels disjointed and, as I like to call it, random acts of marketing. you know, we want to avoid those. All right. Okay. So what do I guess we'll get into a little bit more about what I mean by the anti-agency. First off, it's strategy first, implementation second. Diagnosing. There's a saying, it goes, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice, right? And so, so, it
Absolutely
it
right.
works. Yeah, it works for doctors, right? So why not marketers and strategists? Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
makes sense.
yeah. You really need to know what is going on really within the business. And a lot of business owners, they come to the conversation I have with them starts around, I'm not getting enough leads. Probably 9 times out of 10, that's the start. But their real problems are much deeper, you know, within the company, and they're much more, and they're structural. And that's why it's all leading to not getting enough leads, because people don't know what it is you have to offer. They don't know what your actually, your position is, et cetera, et cetera. They don't know why they should actually work with you to begin with. Um, and so that's, unfortunately, when the marketers start working with a business owner who hasn't figured this out and they attempt to do these tactics, as I say, the marketer gets blamed. So unfortunately, get a bad rap that way. But um, all right, so we start off with an assessment, right? Where are you stuck? What is going on in the business?
It also
Alignment.
decides, like, helps you
Yeah.
to figure out doing that assessment up front. You're not just figuring out what's wrong in your business, you're also figuring out what's right. And so we
Yeah.
know like what to keep and where are we fitting in the solutions
Mm.
along with what's already going well in the business.
I mean, yeah, I do believe it's like a real SWOT analysis, right? Where
Hmm.
strong here,
Yeah.
that but we're weak,
Well,
it's internal. But externally, there are opportunities and threats, right? So I do believe that you're right about, those overall, overarching pieces about leads. Um, our feeling about leads, imagine from an investor, how do we look at it, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And this is why I believe that agencies can help a whole lot, is that the client must understand that they are replicating in a digital form what they can do in a physical engagement. If you don't have the it factor to connect with people, when you do it digitally, it comes off the same way, right?
Mm, mm,
When you talk to, if I can engage with someone, really easily when I'm in front of them, I'm replicating that in my digital marketing too, right? So I meet I met most of my bankers and investors like in organic ways at dinner, at a resort, literally playing golf, right? And
mm,
just strike up a conversation, not about business. You strike up a conversation because you like to get to know the person. Now, on the digital form, that becomes our way to approach
To
someone.
come across. Yeah. I always
yeah.
I was on an interview for a summit recently, and the interviewer asked me like, how do you keep your messages? Because we were talking about automation, automating your systems. And she was like, well, how do you keep your messages and stuff from sounding cold
Mm.
when you're automating them out? And I said, well, if your messages sound cold, it's because you wrote them that way. The automation is really just the delivery, but the messages come from you, or at
Mm.
least they should. There are a lot of people out here who go to AI and have ChatGPT or Claude or whoever write their copy, and they just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And it's like, well, Claude is not you. ChatGPT is not you. You need to take that copy, massage it, put you into it, and then put it out there. Don't just copy and paste.
You bring up
Yeah.
a good point. Is that, and even those models can be trained to think and behave like you, right? So
Mhm.
They can a good amount of it, like, but they still need oversight. They still need you to come in and take that copy and make it sound more like you. Because you can train it as much as you want. Like I have trained Notebook LM quite well. I have trained the ChatGPT quite well. But every time it gives me copy, I always go in and there is always something that I need to edit.
the wonderful
Yeah.
human in the loop, right? Yeah, we
Yes,
tell clients like, AI is great, but you got to keep a human in the loop because it's still a machine.
absolutely.
It can never. It has its own structure, its syntax, if you will.
The tool is
Absolutely.
only as good as the user.
Yes, yes.
That final messaging should be edited to you, right?
Yours, exactly.
We can see that all the I get imagine I get business plans that are totally written in AI. It's like thank you
Mm,
for at least doing it. By the way,
yeah. Yeah.
leaves a lot of questions. And to your point, Simone, yeah, keep
Mm,
the human in the loop, right?
mm.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay. So after you do an assessment, you're making sure that that there's alignment in the business, right? All the different parts of the business. Are things flowing smoothly within the business? What is the path that a customer takes through the business? Are you keeping them happy all along the way? Are you really orchestrating that flow? And every step is purposeful. There's a reason why they're doing something, you know, um, and everything is working together and supporting the other thing, right? And so, if not, something's going to be out of whack, and things are going to fall through. And that's usually what the problem is. Something is just not quite right or fitting or flowing with the rest of it, right? Um, okay, and then having an action plan, then, right? So now, once we've done the assessment, figured out the alignment, coming up with an action plan, that's when we get into building or delegating as appropriate. So the benefits of thinking about things like this as the anti-agency is that you tend to avoid wasted spend. You're building more confidence in your decision making because you've thought things through and you have a reason for everything, right? And you're empowering the owners to lead the business and not chase after leads. So, you know, um, so that's kind of the reason, one of the reasons why I personally take this approach. Um, all right. So, I think we talked a little bit about, before, um, with, clients that we've had experience with, and things were not working well. They're in my case, I was thinking about a kitchen bathroom modeler client of mine who had uh, hired a lead generation agency who was running ads that the offer was basically click here and get 10% off. And their website said, fill out the form, contact us directly through the website and get 5% off. It's all discount shoppers, but when you're talking about kitchen bathroom modelers, you're starting at $45,000. That's who we wanted to target, but the people that he was talking to were people that, could not afford that and probably they were thinking more along the lines of 25,000, right? And so, not going to cut it, unfortunately. And so we took a look at what is the positioning here? What is your offer? What are you trying to, prove, or what are you trying to show? What do you have that separates you? In this case, he's in Cincinnati, and we estimated, just doing a, Google search, I think it was, maybe some other tools that we used, at least 500 kitchen bathroom modelers in Cincinnati alone, just in Cincinnati proper. That's not even including like the outlying areas. And so how do you stand out? How are you become one of 500 in that case? Now, granted, you have Google Business Profile that helps out because you do bathroom modeler near me searches, and then that helps, right? But again, even there, you're going to have several. And so, what makes you stick out in that case? So we started digging in on that, and figuring out, really trying to figure out what it was. We went through his mission, like his vision, his goals, right? What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? He wanted to double his revenue for the year. That was one of the main goals, right? And so, okay, well, how are we going to do this? And we looked at, well, kitchen bathroom modelers, especially, getting leads and converting them, it can be a very expensive prospect because it's such a highly competitive industry. And so, we had to figure out, well, what is a reasonable budget for this if we're talking about from a marketing perspective, right? And once we had all that figured out, we had a clearer picture of the offer, the positioning, and all that. Then we were able to do like a rebrand of the business, and he had no less than three different types of logos. So, that's a problem. You know, it lends itself to being perceived as fractured, and that's a big problem. You need to have consistency everywhere people look and find you. That's extremely important, I think. It gives an impression, at least, of cohesiveness, that you have your stuff together, and it's not surprising and confusing. You don't want confused customers. I think, Simone, you've said that a lot of times. Confused customers don't buy from you. And so that's one of the things, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, and it's an easy fix, really. Um, so anyway, that's the type of thing that we were looking at. And the shift, I think, helped to contribute to over $150,000 in new revenue in just like 4 months. So that was pretty good. And anyway, yeah, but that's just kind of one short example. Here's some ways to know if you need a strategy first approach in your business. Okay. Here's some red flags that you're skipping strategy. First off, you're constantly changing your direction. So in the case of the client that I was just talking about, having three different logos, all of which had three different color schemes, right? So like, he's going all different directions here. And maybe you are deciding that you're going to be all about posting to LinkedIn, but you only do it for like a month or like a week. And then, oh no, that's not working. I'm going to go to YouTube now, and um, if you have to like allow these things to kind of work their way through. And somebody said to me, especially when it comes to marketing, you do it until it stops working. So like basically you have to give it a long enough though to know when it's actually officially done and not working, right?
It's almost like what Dan Martell or somebody calls it the rule of one.
Yeah, there you
Um,
go.
you have that, what is it? One offer, one funnel, one sales process for 1 year. It's five different things anyway, for 1 year. And that's how
Hmm.
that's how you scale up pretty quickly
Hmm.
um,
Get
by
really good at that
focusing.
one thing. Yeah.
Yeah, get really good at that one thing.
Hmm. Another red flag, your team is confused about your priorities. The people that are working for you don't even know what's going on, right? Big problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, you know.
See that a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, or how about this? You're doing a lot, but you're not seeing much in return. You
Mm.
know, feels like you're doing a lot. You're spending a lot, maybe, but you're not getting a whole lot back. That's a big red flag. Or going back to the anti-agency approach, you hired multiple agencies, but you've not had real impact at all. Red flag. Here are some signs that you're ready to fix it. First, you are willing to slow down and assess what's going on, what's working, what's not working, why. You have an appetite for structure as opposed to appetite for destruction, but that's another that's a Guns N' Roses joke. But so you have a desire for systems and not hacks.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's good.
Um,
Like the Band-Aid
yeah,
approach has failed you. So now it's like, okay, what's really gonna work here? Let's
yeah.
slow down, let's assess, let's look at this, your whole system end to end.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you realize that whatever you've been trying is not working, and you need a different approach. That's the short and sweet version there. Okay, so um,
Nathan, before you move on, can I
yeah,
just say that
good.
your number one is our number one? The willingness to slow down.
Ooh,
Oh,
nice,
goodness.
nice.
Right?
What
You know,
what
we
does that mean from your perspective? What I guess how does that in your mind, how does that benefit the business to kind of slow down and assess and take a look at things?
we call it ultimately coachability, right? That
Mm,
someone who's coachable, can say probably have said this term more than once. I don't know what I don't know, right? So coachability is imagining the preparation that I know game day is coming. I know it's time to execute in the future, but I need to prepare, prep, and position myself to seize the moment of game day, right? So a lot of times is that if I'm marching, again, I like Jeff Walker's approach and things like that, but ultimately there's a preparation that happens that creates phenomenal or exponential results. The longer the person stays coachable and stays in that process of preparation, and they slow down enough, their results will exceed what they probably can do in 3 months. So 2 weeks of slowing down could get you 3 months of revenue.
mm,
So we see a lot of
nice.
clients that disbelieve that if I slow down, the revenue, will be missed. Remember the FOMO, right? So they really
Yeah.
believe that if I don't go fast, if I don't keep this momentum, right, or movement going, then I'm going to miss out on revenue. It's really actually in our way of tracking numbers and seeing the results. The longer they slow down, the better the results. I have a client that came to us and wanted for a project to spend $1 million, right? And she wanted to go fast. So the problem was that every time she selected a project, the project, of course, cost $1 million. It's just that for 3 years, she would lose money. I don't know why that's good for people, but again, buying it, I'm a new project, I'm gonna lose money on the project, right? But in year 4, you would catch up, do well. But my question was why lose money at all, right? So we literally slowed her down for 12 months. In 12 months, she bought a property worth $6 million. She was planning on putting in $1 million of her own money. For this property worth $6 million, she only put in 550,000. When she bought the property, we closed the property. It was already cash flowing a positive $275,000. But here's the kicker: because the owner didn't have an accountant helping them and showing them how the numbers work behind the scenes, the property is worth $12 million. Slowing down for 12 months, put $4 million equity and back to her real network. Now she's not losing money at all. Slowing down is not a slowdown. It's just a way to prepare to see it a whole lot differently, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So
with that 10,000-foot view.
Yeah. So so again, you're thinking if I slow down, I'm going to miss something. But slowing down allows you to see clarity, a whole lot better.
Yep. Big on clarity. That's crucial. Okay, very good. So I guess what in your mind what does that mean? What does that look like for slowing down?
For me, slowing down is like again, I would say that I love the anti-agency approach, because it's not only be something that you and Simone are, again, thought leadership in this area, right? But it does mean that there's literally a mindset shift that needs to happen. When we present something that's, I'm not presenting what a bank would tell you or what an investor would tell you through pitch decks. It has to be something to slow down enough to understand our rationale behind it, right? So when I think about the anti-agency approach, I know that it works, right? Because, their mindset was shown to someone like me, an investor, to say, okay, they're thinking about marketing differently. We know the old systems don't work, right? No matter how much you pay for them, right? We know that the old systems don't work, right? So we're shocked that, when someone has written a check to $30,000 and they're doing something that's, again, sounds like the latest and greatest thing, right? Remember the new shiny object. But, sometimes your approach should be customized. So the person being able to shift their mind is not only hearing it from you and Simone, but it's also being internalized that they can say it themselves.
Yeah. Good deal. All right. Anything else on that?
Well, I love what you're doing, so
thanks.
I can always say more about, like, when it comes to slowing down, we literally turn down 85% of deals that come to us because the person rushes. They could be qualified in every way possible. But if you rush, that only tells me that something's going to be missed. The risk is now exponential, if you will, right? So marketing, again, lifeblood of the company. Why would I rush that process? We would love to see more owners, and even like I said, the anti-agency owners, to realize this process is important, is vital, so that when you're trying to raise capital for your business, it's a very well thought out thing. I cannot stress how much I love number one, right?
Awesome. Very good. Yeah, great. Okay. So just to give a recap here, agencies, unfortunately, are not traditionally built to give you clarity in your business. You know, they're there to do the thing that you hired them to do, and that's about it. Um, Strategy aligns everything and makes execution easier and more effective. I'll throw that in there. Um, and you need a blueprint before you start building. I think that's a key point. Simone, anything else?
No, that makes perfect sense. And I like that three-step approach, right? Just knowing that strategy, having that strategy mapped out makes that execution easier. So like even before you even you're probably going to need an agency at some point to do the thing that you can't do, but map out the strategy first. Then go to the right agency to do the thing that needs to be done. Um, you know, uh, and then and then you're able to hand them over a blueprint. Say, okay, well, this is my branding and this is my message and this is what I need. I need you to do the thing, but it's got to look like this. Give them a blueprint. Otherwise, they're just gonna, okay, well, here we go. We're gonna post some stuff for you up on social media, and it has absolutely nothing to do with you and your branding and your business and what you needed to say. So you come to them with that blueprint first before you build, then you're going to
Yeah.
build something wonderful.
And if you need help with figuring that out, obviously, that's partly what we do. That's one of the things that we do. Help you kind of figure out what that blueprint might look like. Take it from the start, from your goals, and work from the with the end in mind, right? That's where we start. And with that, I think make sure I'll drop the link to the growth ceiling assessment if you want to figure out where you're at currently and get some ideas for next steps on how to get to the next level. But other than that, I think that's a wrap for today.
That's a wrap for us today. For our YouTube audience, Clayton, stick around if you'd like. Um, if you're watching us on YouTube, put a comment in the comment section and let us know what your biggest takeaway was. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel and tell your friends that this is where they come to get strategy, not just tactics that don't work. All right.